The trouble started with my pickup truck, wrapped in a blazing mural of sunflowers and bees. It wasn't just a vehicle, it was a rolling billboard for my organic honey business, Creek Buzz, born from the beehives my dad taught me to tend before he passed. I'd parked it in my driveway, fully permitted by the county, proud of the vibrant yellows and greens that caught the evening light. But to Karen Davis, my HOA-obsessed neighbor, it was a personal affront. At 7:13 p.m., her voice pierced the quiet cul-de-sac like a siren. "That garish monstrosity is tanking our property values," she shrieked, storming across her manicured lawn, phone clutched to her ear. Her platinum blonde hair bounced with every stomp, her face a mask of righteous fury. I stepped onto my porch, Pixel, my scruffy mutt growling softly at my side. "Karen, it's street legal," I said, keeping my tone even. "I checked the HOA bylaws, no rule against car wraps." She jabbed a manicured finger at me. "You think you're slick, huh? I'm calling 911. This is vandalism." I blinked, half laughing. "Vandalism, it's my truck." Pixel barked, echoing my disbelief as Karen dialed. Mrs. Delaney, the retired librarian next door, peeked out her window, shaking her head. "Here we go again," she muttered, loud enough for me to hear. Within 10 minutes, a sheriff's cruiser rolled up, lights flashing lazily. Deputy Rogers stepped out, lanky and weathered, humming a faint bar of Folsom Prison blues. He glanced at my truck, the sunflowers practically glowing under the street lamp, then at Karen, who was waving her arms like a deranged conductor. "Ma'am, explain the emergency," Rogers said, his drawl calm but firm. "It's an eyesore," Karen snapped. "The HOA forbids commercial vehicles. He's ruining the neighborhood." Rogers turned to me, one eyebrow raised. "Your truck?" "Yes, sir," I said, handing him the county permit and HOA bylaws, highlighted where they allowed personal vehicles. "It's my business, all above board." He skimmed the documents, then handed them back. "No violation here, ma'am," he told Karen, tipping his hat. "It's his property. Suggest you take it up with the HOA board, not 911. He paused, adding, "False calls tie up resources, you know." Karen's face turned beet red, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Mrs. Delaney stifled a chuckle from her porch. "I thought that was the end of it. I was dead wrong." The next morning, I woke to Pixel's frantic barking. Outside, Karen was hammering metal stakes into the ground along our shared property line, a roll of chain link fencing at her feet. The stakes blocked my path to the creek easement, a narrow strip of land where I walked Pixel and tended my hives. The creek's gentle gurgle, the hum of bees, it was my sanctuary, Dad's legacy etched into every ripple and buzz. "Karen, what the hell?" I called, striding over with my surveyor's map. "That's my easement, you can't fence it off." She didn't look up, slamming another stake. "It's HOA property now," she said, voice dripping with smugness. "We're making it a community park, you'll thank me later." My chest tightened. That creek wasn't just land, it was where Dad and I spent summers, him teaching me how to check frames, how to listen for the Queen's hum. Losing it felt like losing him all over again. "The easement's mine," I said, holding up the map. "County records prove it." Karen smirked. "Records can be adjusted. The HOA has plans." Pixel growled, sensing my anger. I called the county clerk, who confirmed the easement was legally mine, deeded with the property. I emailed Rogers the surveyor's map and a photo of Karen's stakes. By noon, he was back, this time with a clipboard. "Ma'am, this easement's private property," he told Karen, pointing to my documents. "Remove the fence by tomorrow, or you're looking at a trespassing citation." Karen's eyes narrowed, but she nodded, yanking a stake with theatrical flair. "This isn't over," she hissed, storming off. Rogers turned to me, humming Ring of Fire under his breath. "She's trouble," he said. "Watch your back." I nodded, stroking Pixel's ears as he leaned against my leg. Karen's retreat felt like a wind, but her words echoed in my head. The creek, the hives, Pixel's favorite trail, they were mine, but I knew Karen wouldn't stop. My gut churned with a mix of dread and resolve. Dad always said, "Protect what's yours." I wasn't letting her steal this. 2 weeks after Karen's failed 911 stunt, I came home to a gut punch. My cedar fence along the creek easement was sliced in 3 places, wires dangling like broken bones. Tire marks gouged the muddy bank, and one of my beehives, Dad's favorite with its hand-painted sunflowers, lay smashed, frames scattered, honey pooling in the grass. Worst of all, Pixel yelped, limping toward me, a rusty nail from a spiked board piercing his paw. I knelt, heart racing, as Pixel whined. "Hang on, buddy," I whispered, prying the nail free. Blood matted his fur and my throat tightened. Those hives weren't just my business, they were Dad's legacy, our summers spent coaxing honey from combs. Now they were wreckage, and Pixel, my shadow through every harvest, was hurt. Karen's smug face flashed in my mind. This wasn't random. At the vet, Dr. Chen cleaned Pixel's wound and prescribed antibiotics. "Keep him off that paw," she said. "Watch for infection." I nodded, anger simmering. Paying the $200 bill, I vowed no more playing defense. I ordered 4 motion sensor cameras online, rigged to ping my phone every 10 seconds until muted. Next, I called Nora Beltran, a surveyor whose no-nonsense ponytail and steel-toed boots screamed competence. Over coffee at my kitchen table, she studied my property map. "Karen's a piece of work," Nora said, smirking. "I've seen HOAs pull this crap before. We'll shut her down." She marked my boundaries with fluorescent stakes and laminated signs. "Tampering with survey monuments, felony, 7 years." "Think she'll back off?" I asked, stroking Pixel's bandaged paw. Nora snorted. "She'll try something dumber. Be ready." That night at 1:13 a.m., my phone lit up. The camera feed showed 2 figures by the creek, a lanky guy with bolt cutters and a shorter one, platinum blonde hair glowing under moonlight. Karen. They yanked Nora's stakes, tossing them into the water with muffled curses. I saved the footage and dialed Deputy Rogers. By 6 a.m., Rogers was at my door, humming "I Walk the Line" as he watched the video. "That's Chandler Hayes," he said, squinting at the lanky figure. "Petty thief, always in over his head, and that's your neighbor, no question." I clenched my jaw. "They hurt my dog, Rogers, in my hives." He nodded, eyes steady. "We'll handle it." Rogers secured a warrant for trespassing and criminal mischief. At Chandler's trailer, body cam footage caught him in stained pajama pants, bleeding. "I was asleep all night." Rogers held up a still from my camera, Chandler mid-grimace, bolt cutters gleaming. "Care to revise that?" Rogers asked, voice dry. Chandler froze. At Karen's house, deputies found my stakes in her garage next to a can of red spray paint, same shade as the graffiti on my "no trespassing" signs. Karen, in a silk robe, stammered, "Chandler stored tools here. I had no idea." Rogers wasn't fooled. "Ma'am, you're on camera tossing stakes," he said, cuffing her. Save Karen made bond by noon, her lawyer already spinning excuses, but Chandler, on probation for a 2021 check fraud, stayed locked up, his parole officer unmoved. As deputies hauled them away, I sat with Pixel, his head in my lap. The arrests felt like a win, but his limp and the shattered hive kept me grounded. Karen wasn't done. I tightened the camera mounts, ready for her next move. With Chandler in jail and Karen out on bond, I hired Elliot, a wiry lawyer whose love for terrible puns rivaled his legal savvy. Over coffee, he pored over the HOA's financials, chasing the $3,500 gate Karen had illegally installed on my easement. "This gate's a real fensive move," he quipped, then pointed to a cashier's check signed by Chandler, drawn from the HOA's reserve fund. Bingo. Elliot subpoenaed the HOA's records and uncovered a bombshell. Chandler, the HOA's bookkeeper, had siphoned $46,900 for grounds improvements that never existed, fake landscaping, phantom benches, and Karen's gate. Worse, $10,000 was funneled to Karen's personal account, labeled consulting fees. "This is a gateway to felony charges," Elliot said, grinning. I couldn't help but laugh, though Pixel's bandaged paw resting on my knee kept me grounded. The hive's destruction still stung, Dad's voice echoing in every lost frame. Enter Detective Miriam Page, a white-collar crime specialist with a thermos of black coffee and eyes like a hawk. She seized Chandler's laptop, uncovering a treasure trove of fraud, forged receipts, fake HOA minutes, and a neon green stamp template for bogus approvals. One email from Karen read, "Move the funds fast. The creek's ours." Page's jaw tightened as she showed me the printout. "Karen's cooked," she said. "Chandler's the garnish." The HOA board, horrified, voted to press charges. Chandler, facing probation revocation for his 2021 fraud and new felony counts, panicked. In a plea deal, he agreed to testify against Karen for a reduced sentence. I watched him in court, sweaty in a cheap suit, spilling everything. Karen wanted the easement for an HOA park, Chandler said, voice cracking. She said I'd get a cut of the land's value. I handled the stakes, the gate, her orders. Karen's lawyer, a $600 an hour shark named Hall, tried to paint Chandler as a lone rogue. My client was unaware of any wrongdoing, Hall droned, but my camera footage, Karen heaving stakes into her SUV at 12:47 a.m., blew that defense apart. The prosecutor played the clip and the jury's gasps filled the room. Gotcha, Elliot whispered, nudging me. The jury deliberated 2 hours. Guilty on all counts: felony conspiracy, theft, criminal mischief, misdemeanor trespassing. Karen's bond was revoked. She got 18 months in prison, $32,000 restitution to me for damages, and $46,900 to the HOA. A 5-year no-contact order sealed her fate. Chandler faced 4 years, with parole possible in 2, his probation violation tacking on extra time. As Karen was led away, her glare met my eyes. I gave a small wave, not malice, just closure. She'd hurt Pixel, trashed Dad's hives, but justice had landed. In the courthouse hall, Rogers, humming Ring of Fire, clapped my shoulder. You nailed M, he said. Pixel doing okay? Healing, I said, smiling, like me. Back home, I sat by the creek, Pixel's tail thumping as he chewed a toy. The smashed hive was gone, but the others hummed, bees darting in the dusk. The HOA sent a $4,500 check from Chandler's frozen account to rebuild. I ordered new frames, picturing Dad's grin. Karen's gate was dismantled, the easement mine again. Small wins, but they felt huge. Still, Karen's lawyer filed an appeal, and I knew she'd scheme from behind bars. I checked the cameras nightly, Pixel at my side. We won this round, but I wasn't letting my guard down. The courtroom was silent as the judge delivered Karen's fate: 18 months in prison, $32,000 restitution to me for damages, $46,900 to the HOA, and a 5-year no-contact order. Chandler, sweating in a wrinkled suit, got 4 years with parole possible in 2, thanks to his testimony against her. His 2021 fraud probation violation added an automatic 18 months. As Karen was led away, her glare met mine, fury in her eyes but no power left. I gave a small wave, not out of spite but to close the chapter. She'd hurt Pixel, trashed Dad's hives, and tried to steal my land. Justice felt like a deep breath. Outside, Elliot, my pun-happy lawyer, clapped my shoulder. Well, that was a stinging victory, he said, winking. I chuckled, but my mind was on home: Pixel, the creek, the hives. Deputy Rogers, humming Man in Black nearby, nodded. You did good, he said. Holler if she tries anything from lockup. Will do, I said, grateful for his steady presence. Back at the house, Pixel greeted me with a wagging tail, his paw fully healed. The vet had cleared him, and his joyful bounds through the grass lifted my heart. The HOA, now led by Mrs. Delaney and a reformed board, sent a $4,500 check from Chandler's frozen account to rebuild my smashed beehive. I ordered new frames, hand-painting sunflowers on them like Dad used to. Each brushstroke felt like stitching a wound closed. Where Karen's illegal gate once stood, I built a greenhouse, its glass panes catching the morning light. I planted tomatoes, basil, and lavender, the scents mingling with the creek's earthy tang. The remaining hives hummed stronger, bees darting among wildflowers I'd sown along the easement. Pixel chased a butterfly and I laughed, remembering Dad's voice: bees know the way, just give M room. One evening, a letter arrived from Chandler, postmarked from county jail. In shaky handwriting, he apologized. I was stupid following Karen's lead, he wrote. I'm earning a paralegal certificate. Maybe I'll do some good. Enclosed was a hand-drawn map suggesting apple trees for my creek bank. For the bees, he added. I sat back surprised. Forgiveness wasn't easy. Pixel's limped the shattered frames, but his effort meant something. I wrote back, brief but honest. Sunflowers are blooming. Keep learning. Karen's house stood empty, her HOA schemes buried. Her appeal, Elliot warned, was pending, but the evidence was ironclad. Restitution checks started trickling in, $58 a month from her prison wages, a symbolic drip that take decades to clear. It wasn't the money, it was the principle. She'd lost, and I'd won back my peace. By the creek, I sat with Pixel, his head in my lap as the sun dipped low. The greenhouse glowed, the hives buzzed, and the easement was mine, unchallenged. I sketched plans for a farm stand, maybe a beekeeping workshop for kids to share Dad's lessons. The fight had scarred me, Pixel's yelp, the honey-soaked grass, but it forged something stronger. I wasn't just surviving, I was building. Karen's shadow lingered in that appeal, and I kept the cameras on, their red lights blinking in the dusk. But as Pixel nuzzled my hand, I felt ready. Whatever came next, this land, these bees, this life, they were mine, fought for and free. The year after Karen's sentencing, her property, once a fortress of HOA tyranny, found new life. Sprout Tomorrow, an organic farming nonprofit, bought the lot at auction, their mission to grow food and community. Maria Torres, their director, with a warm smile and dirt-stained overalls, knocked on my door one spring morning. "We're turning Karen's lawn into a garden," Maria said, handing me a flyer. "Heard you're a bee expert, want to consult on pollinators." I grinned, the irony sharp. "Count me in," Karen's spinning in her cell. Maria laughed. "Let's make her old yard bloom." I suggested native plants, milkweed, coneflowers, sunflowers, to draw bees from my hives. Walking Pixel by the creek, I pictured Dad nodding approval, his voice clear. Bees tie the world together. Karen's attempt to steal this land had failed. Now her own would feed the neighborhood. The first volunteer day was a hive of activity. I brought my brush cutter, joining Mrs. Delaney, now an HOA board member, and a dozen neighbors. Deputy Rogers showed up, humming Get Rhythm, hauling mulch bags with a grin. "Never thought I'd see Karen's grass grow carrots," he said, tossing me a water bottle. "You started this, you know." I shrugged, wiping sweat. "Just protected what's mine." Mrs. Delaney, planting tomato seedlings, chimed in. "You did more. The HOA's honest now, thanks to you." We built raised beds, sowed seeds, and laughed over Karen's stories, her 911 call, her steak-tossing tantrum. Maria directed us, her energy infectious. "This garden, for everyone," she said. "No HOAs, no Karen's." Pixel bounded through the dirt, tail wagging, his paw long-heeled. By October, Sprout Tomorrow hosted a harvest dinner under string lights. Tables groaned with bounty from Karen's former lawn, roasted butternut squash, honey-glazed carrots drizzled with my Creek Buzz blend, heirloom tomato bruschetta. Neighbors clinked glasses, toasting new roots. Maria raised her fork, nodding at me. "Your bees made this sweeter," she said, "and your fight cleared the way." I smiled, petting Pixel under the table. "Just glad it's growing, not fighting." The real victory was visceral, nourishment where Karen sowed division. Her prison appeal had fizzled, Elliot reported, buried under my camera evidence. Restitution checks, $58 monthly from her wages, kept coming, a reminder of her defeat. The HOA, reformed, sent a formal apology, their new bylaws banning land grabs. I sealed my triumph with a barn built from Karen's salvaged fence wood. Permitted and sturdy, it rose where her gate once blocked my creek. Inside, I stored tools, honey jars, and dreams, a farm stand, maybe a beekeeping class. The wood, weathered by her schemes, now held my future. Pixel nuzzled my hand as I hammered the last nail, the hives humming nearby. One evening, I walked the garden with Maria, bees dancing over sunflowers. Karen's old driveway was a compost hub, her lawn a patchwork of greens. "This is what Dad meant," I told Pixel, his ears perked. "Build, don't break." Roger stopped by, humming Sunday Morning Coming Down. "Place looks alive," he said. "You won big." "Team effort," I said, gesturing to the beds. "Want some squash?" He took a bag, tipping his hat. The creek sparkled, my greenhouse glowed, and the barn stood proud. Karen's shadow was gone, replaced by roots and laughter. Pixel chased a bee, and I laughed free. The creek sparkled under April's light, its ripples catching the hum of my hives. Pixel raced through wildflowers, his tail a joyful blur, his one-singered paw now strong. I sat on a flat stone, sketchbook open, drafting a farm stand for Creek Buzz honey. The greenhouse thrived nearby, tomatoes and lavender spilling over raised beds, while the barn, built from Karen's salvaged fence wood, stood proud, a testament to my fight. Karen's shadow had faded, her prison sentence, her failed appeal, her $58 monthly restitution checks. The real victory was this peace, this land, this life. I traced a workshop plan next, beekeeping classes for kids, teaching them to hear the queen's hum just as Dad taught me. Those summers with him, checking frames, tasting honey, were etched in every buzz. Karen's schemes, her 911 call over my car rap, her steak-tossing nights had tested me. Pixel's yelp, the smashed hive, her sneer in court, they'd scarred me, but they'd also forged resilience. Dad's voice rang clear: "Protect what's yours, then build." I was building now, for me, for Pixel, for the bees. The cameras still blinked red at dusk, a habit I couldn't shake, but their alerts were rare. Sprout Tomorrow's garden, blooming on Karen's old lawn, was a louder triumph. Her HOA tyranny was gone, replaced by roots and laughter. I closed my sketchbook, Pixel nuzzling my hand. "We did it, buddy," I said. He barked, chasing a butterfly, and I laughed free. By June, Sprout Tomorrow's garden had doubled, its beds bursting with zucchini, kale, and my pollinator patches, milkweed, coneflowers, sunflowers. Maria Torres, dirt smudged on her cheek, invited me to lead a workshop on bees. "Your hives are the garden's heart," she said over tea in my kitchen. "Show us how they work." I agreed, nervous but excited. The workshop drew 30 neighbors, kids to grandparents, gathered under a tent on Karen's former lawn. I held a frame, bees crawling gently, and explained the queen's role. "She's the soul," I said, echoing Dad. "Listen close," she hums. A girl named Lily, maybe 10, gasped as a bee landed on her glove. "It's like magic," she said. I grinned, handing her a creek buzz jar. "It's nature." A second volunteer day followed, bigger than the first. I brought my brush cutter, joining Mrs. Delaney, who turned the HOA into a force for good. "No more Karens," she said, planting peppers. Deputy Rogers arrived, humming Folsom Prison blues, hauling compost bags. "This place is alive," he said, nodding at the beds. "You kicked it off." Maria directed us, her clipboard a blur. "We're feeding 50 families now," she said. "Your bees make it sweeter." Pixel darted through the rows, tail wagging as neighbors swapped stories. Karen's 911 fiasco, her courtroom glare. Laughter rang out louder than her memory. I drove a stake for a trellis, thinking of the ones she'd stolen. These stakes grew life. In August, a letter arrived, postmarked from a law firm. Elaine Castor, claiming to be Karen's cousin, demanded a private right-of-way across my easement, citing a deed I'd never seen. My stomach dropped, Karen's ghost clawing back. Pixel growled at the envelope, sensing my tension. I called Elliot, who laughed over the phone. "Another offensive play," he said. "Send it over." At his office, Elliot dissected the deed, a clumsy forgery with mismatched fonts and a notary seal from a defunct office. "Karen's desperate," he said, "or Elaine's greedy." We filed a motion, and Nora Beltran, my surveyor, re-verified my boundaries, her stakes still fluorescent. The county clerk confirmed no such deed existed. Elaine withdrew her claim within days, her lawyer citing a misunderstanding. Rogers stopped by, humming Ring of Fire. "Heard about the fake deed," he said. "You squashed it fast." I nodded, petting Pixel. "Learn from the best, Karen's mistakes." The cameras caught nothing that week, and Elaine's retreat felt final. Karen's last gasp had failed. October's Harvest Festival was Sprout Tomorrow's triumph. Under a harvest moon, Karen's former lot glowed with lanterns and tables of garden bounty. Roasted squash, honey-glazed carrots, tomato bruschetta, all sweetened by my bees. My barn hosted a creek buzz booth, jars gleaming, where I shared samples. Lily from the workshop bought one, beaming. "I'm gonna be a beekeeper," she said. Maria took the stage, mic in hand. "This garden's ours," she said. "Thanks to our neighbor who fought for what's right." Cheers rose, and I blushed, Pixel at my feet. Mrs. Delaney handed me a plaque from the HOA, etched with Community Champion. "You earned it," she said. I spoke briefly, voice steady. "My dad taught me bees build more than honey, they build life. This garden's proof." Neighbors clapped, and Rogers, humming Get Rhythm, raised a glass. The barn, its wood once Karen's fence, framed the scene, a monument to victory. Winter loomed, but my plans grew. The farm stand would open in spring with workshops for kids like Lily. The greenhouse, barn, and hives were ready, tied to Dad's legacy. Pixel raced by the creek, chasing bees, his joy my anchor. Karen's restitution, $58 a month, was a footnote. The garden, the community, the hum were the story. I stood in the barn, jars stacked, sketching a sign, "Creek Buzz, Honey and Hope." The cameras blinked, but I didn't check them tonight. Pixel nuzzled me, and I whispered, "We're home." Dad's voice answered in the hive's hum, "Build. I would for us, for the bees, for tomorrow."